Hello, and welcome to Healing for Life Together, Powerful Healing with Expert Practitioners. My name is Lauren Brem, and I'm here today with Ben Manalo, who will be our guest practitioner for our upcoming seminar, Inner Conflict, Releasing the Tension Within. Welcome, Ben. Thanks so much for taking the time to do this interview with us, Ben.
Yeah, sure. My pleasure. Looking forward.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to your seminar and excited to talk with you about it. So for people that don't know you, could you start by just telling us a little bit about your background, particularly in working with inner conflict?
Sure. I guess I've been working with inner conflict since the day I was born. So I think really in our own way, we're all really experts with inner conflict because it's something that it seems like we're born into this world with, and as we become more self-aware and aware of ourselves as individuals, it's something that I think for all of us to some degree really comes to the surface and we really become more aware of. So, as far as my own experience and working with inner conflict, I have to say that it really all got catalyzed when I started Body Talk. So I've been practicing. I learned Body Talk in 2001 with John, and since then it's just been a whole unraveling and process of self-inquiry and self-investigation, and what is this all about, and why is it so difficult to just be yourself? So, the principles of consciousness class that I teach, touches on inner conflict quite a bit, and then of course the breakthrough work that I also teach.
Yeah.
So those two classes really go hand in hand, and that's where I'm going to be drawing from with this series.
Excellent. So when you did the teaching to or the training to teach breakthrough, that had you obviously really focus in on the inner conflict that's within each of us. No, did that really change how you started perceiving inner conflict when you trained to teach that work?
Well, yeah, I mean the breakthrough instructor training, I mean it's really quite intensive, and even just the prerequisites to apply to become a breakthrough instructor are really quite intensive also. I mean, you have to have all of the body talk stuff, and you have to take free fall and mindscape. So there really is a lot of preparation and inner investigation that goes into being able to teach the work and help to lead other people through that process of self-investigation and self-inquiry. So for me, this whole journey of self-investigation and really questioning my life and trying to get a clear sense of who I am and why it's so difficult to be myself, that whole process is just, over the years really just shifted my whole relationship with other people in my practice, and really most importantly with myself.
Yeah, very cool. So,
Yeah.
Ben, obviously, this is a seminar on inner conflict. It's called Inner Conflict, something that we all, have experienced. Can you talk a little bit about where this inner conflict comes from? And, like you said, why is it so difficult to just be ourselves? Why aren't we just at peace all the time? Where does this deep inner conflict come from?
Yeah, so, like I said in the beginning, I feel like I've been working with inner conflict since the day I was born, and it seems that this whole sense or experience of inner conflict really stems from that early age.
Hmm.
Um, when it boils down to it, at some level, somewhere in our life, at some point, for whatever reason, however it came about, we all learned that it's not okay to be ourselves. And, when we're little children, when we're babies, there isn't any sense of self. There isn't any distinction that we make between ourselves and our surroundings. We're just sponges, and we're just soaking in information and absorbing information. And at that early age, we are totally dependent on the world, and really our parents are our primary caregivers for literally for our survival. It's a life or death situation. And so, at that early age, we're just acting spontaneous. We're totally being ourselves. We don't care whether whether we pick our nose or whether we're pooping in our pants or we're farting or burping or we're crying at 2 o'clock in the morning. We don't have any care about that. We're totally just being ourselves. But then somewhere along the line, we get the sense that, when I do these things or when I act in these ways that are very natural to me, when I act this way, then mom gets mad or dad gets mad or they ignore me or they don't pick me up or something like that. And so on a very deep subconscious level, that really is the word that comes to mind is a wounding. It's a wounding to our psyche, to our psychology. It's a wounding of the soul.
Mm.
And so from that point on, we learn that, if I really want to get my needs met, if I really just want to be picked up and hugged and loved and cared for and nourished and all these things, if I want to survive in this world, I have to I have to betray myself.
Mm.
I have to be false to myself. And so that really seems to be one of the major starting points for this whole experience of inner conflict that we have for the rest of our life. Wanting to be myself, but feeling that in some situations or with some people, I can't be myself. And why is that? And so there is that whole inner turmoil that really can be traced to early childhood.
Okay. So in that this seminar has the second component. We obviously talk about your relationship with yourself, and we've talked about how working on that improves relationships with others. Can you talk a little bit more about how that works? I think most of us know from Body Talk and Breakthrough that, we've had a session and then we go back out into our lives and people treat us differently. Can you talk a little bit about why that phenomena occurs?
Yeah, I think so. So one of the thought that comes to mind is that one of the concepts that we put forth in Breakthrough is that your relationship with other people is always a reflection of your relationship with yourself. And your relationship with yourself reflects your relationship with other people and the world. And so what we always see and I see it in the breakthrough work more specifically, is that the conflict that seems to be happening out there, the conflict that seems to be happening with other people, always, always, always comes back to some conflict within myself. And that conflict within myself, or the conflict, that we're working with, is always a conflict between a conscious belief system, a belief that we like to believe that we have, such as, I'm a good person and I'm a polite person, and how that belief system is conflicting with a deeper, more deeply rooted belief system that is completely contrary to that I'm a bad person and that I'm impolite and that I'm rude. And so what keeps going on is this tension and wanting one experience over another experience. So only wanting the good part of life, really. Like, I only want to be polite. I only want to be good. I don't want any, I only want joy and peace and happiness and rainbows and angels all of the time. But when we look at that more closely, really what that says is that I just want to live one half of life, right? Because life isn't all just ups. Life is also downs. And so a lot of that conflict that we experience is really a refusal to experience the totality of life, to experience all of life, to experience the downs as well as the ups. So So, in body talk and in breakthrough, coming to that realization that on some level that, oh my gosh, I'm only living half of my life, and how bland really that can be. That's a pretty significant shift. So, so a lot of what we're doing in both systems, in body talk and in breakthrough, is helping people to really live their life fully, to live the whole spectrum of the human experience and not get so caught up in one being better than better than the other.
Hmm. That makes sense. Well, so with that in mind, is there or are there like is there a particular type of person that you'd really love to reach with this seminar? Because we're going to be doing sessions specifically for this over 6 weeks and working as a group, which is really powerful. If there were some people that you wanted to reach out there with this seminar, who might that be?
You know what? I think when it boils down to it, I think each one of us is really looking to find what comes naturally for each of us beyond the social conditioning, the cultural conditioning, parental family conditioning. What is it that comes naturally to us? And it seems to me, in my experience working with clients and teaching these classes, that really one of the major conflicts is the conflict between the head and the heart, between the mind and the heart, you could say. So we even have the phrase in our language, follow your heart, and your heart can never lead you wrong. So as far as the people I think that I really love to work with, and the people that I think will really benefit from this series of sessions, are going to be people who are really looking to get clarity about what comes naturally to them, who are really looking to get more in touch with their heart and feel more comfortable following their heart and finding their passion and really being true to themselves. Because in my opinion and experience, it seems like that really is what the crux of the whole IBA curriculum is all about, finding what comes naturally to you. And that's what I hope we'll really be focusing on in this series.
Excellent. Well, Ben, for those people that haven't done a Healing for Life Together seminar, they might not know that we do a live Q&A for all of the sessions. So even though we don't hear their voices on the session, we're reviewing their intake forms, we're looking at their photos every session, and we have this live Q&A that we actually opened up for today's interview with you. And we had one question that came in, which is quite relevant since we're going to be diving into a lot of these body talk, module 3, consciousness aspects, as we have outlined in our 6-week outline. And someone wrote in, Ben, and said, "What is consciousness?" And if you just want to take a moment to talk about that and how that might relate to this seminar, go for it.
Okay, well, wow, what a big question. In some ways a big question, and in some ways a very simple question. Mm-hmm. So, there's so many ways to answer that, and what is consciousness? I mean, consciousness is that thing, that isness, for lack of a better word, that it's that thing that animates everything. Mm-hmm. Consciousness, so this is where we really get tied up with language, because ultimately consciousness isn't something that you can really put into words or that you can really describe. Consciousness, in and of itself, by definition, is beyond concepts. You can't conceptualize consciousness because consciousness is infinite, it is totality, it is absolute. And even though we have a word, we have those words that we use to describe consciousness, really, our mind can't even wrap its head around that concept. So, just in giving a label to consciousness, we're automatically limiting something that, by definition, is unlimited.
Mm.
So that really does tie into one of the more deeply rooted conflicts that we experience in our life, because there is this part of us, in our heart of hearts, we know that all there is consciousness. In our heart of hearts, we know that everything is one, that there is no sense of separation. We know that. There's this part of us that has experienced that many, many times. But then there's this other part of us, this heady mind part of us, that says, well, what are you talking about? Of course there is separation. Like, I see Lauren there on the screen, I see my body, I see all these people around me, so of course there's separation. And so one of the things that we'll definitely be addressing during this series is that conflict as well, which ties back to that conflict between the head and the heart.
Mm.
This awareness, this big picture awareness that there is no separation, conflicting with this more mental sensory awareness that keeps telling us otherwise, that there is.
Mm.
I don't know how well that answers the question.
No, it does. And I had to laugh because as you started talking about consciousness, the plant behind you seemed to kind of move in the air, and I'm like, it's consciousness too. So yeah, no, but I can feel that in the 6 weeks. I'm so excited to co-lead this seminar with you because I know we're going to go very deep and probably down some very unknown alleys and streets in kind of uncovering where some of those conflicts lie and at what level and how we can unravel them and just, like you said, have a more authentic experience of being ourselves and just exploring this magical consciousness concept. So
Yeah, I'm looking forward to peeling away the layers.
yeah, let's do it.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
to all of you watching this, I hope that you can join us. We start the seminar November 7th, which is coming up in just a few weeks, and there are still spots left. So excited for you to join us. We're going to say goodbye here, but thank you so much for joining us at Healing for Life Together. We're committed to healing and transformation for individuals worldwide. We'll see you all hopefully November 7th, and thanks so much, Ben.
Great. Thanks, Lauren.